Thank you.
Chair recognizes Ms. Stefanik from New York.
Thank you. Governor Hochul, on your first day in office, you signed Executive Order 1. Is that correct?
I believe it is.
And you extended this executive order not once, not twice, but 3 times, most recently January 16th this year. Is that correct?
If that's what your facts show, I signed countless executive orders.
I would
and
assume you'd know
policies
it's
and laws.
Executive Order 1. And this is a continuation of your predecessor's sanctuary state policies, correct? Is included in that.
Welcome back to America First, the channel where we put American citizens and American values above all else. If you believe in putting Americans first, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated on the truth that mainstream media won't tell you. Your support helps us continue bringing you the real stories that matter to hardworking Americans. Today, we're going to break down an absolutely devastating exchange that took place during a congressional hearing where New York Governor Kathy Hochul was confronted about her sanctuary state policies. What you're about to hear should make every American's blood boil, because it exposes exactly how far-left politicians are choosing to protect illegal immigrants over innocent American citizens. The congressman in this hearing did exactly what we need more Republicans to do. He came prepared with facts, with names, and with the horrific consequences of these reckless sanctuary policies. He didn't let Governor Hochul dance around the issues or hide behind political talking points. He forced her to confront the reality of what her policies have created.
I want to be sure we are defining sanctuary state properly.
I'll define it for you. It is the policy of the state that state officers or employees shall not disclose information to federal immigration authorities for the purpose of federal civil immigration enforcement. It goes on to say, law enforcement officers may not use resources, equipment, or personnel for the purpose of detecting and apprehending any individual suspected or wanted for violating a civil immigration office. Law enforcement officers have no authority in the state of New York to take any policy action solely because the person is an undocumented alien. That's a quote in your executive orders that you extended. Now, do you know who Sakir Akan is?
I want to get back to the first part
No,
of
I'm
your
asking a question. Do you know who
Well,
Sakir Akan is?
I want to make sure you understand that this simply says that we will cooperate with ICE.
No,
in
it does
all-
not say that. I read what it
We will
says, and let me talk to you about the results. Do you know who Sakir Akan is? You should, as the governor of New York State. Do you know?
Refresh my recollection.
He was an illegal migrant in New York. And do you know what crime he committed in addition to being here illegally?
No, I do not.
You do not. This was widely reported. He found a 15-year-old girl, threatened her with a metal pole, told her to get into the back seat of his car. He took her clothes off, and he violently raped her in Albany, New York. Do you know who Sebastian Zapita Khalil is?
I'm sure you'll tell me there's many cases, whether they're
These are
here-
high-profile cases.
Yes.
New Yorkers know about them, and you don't. So let's talk about Sebastian Zapita Khalil. Do you know who that is?
I don't have the specific details at my disposal, no.
Well, this is an illegal migrant in New York because of your sanctuary state policies. Do you know what crime he committed?
I'm not familiar at this moment.
I bet you're going to be familiar when I remind you. He found a sleeping woman on the subway, lit her on fire, and burned her alive. This is in Kathy Hochul's New York. And as I'm sure you are aware, and I'll remind you, that ICE issued an order to detain this violent criminal, but that was rejected by New York officials due to sanctuary state laws. Now, do you know who Raymond Rojas Basilio is?
I just want to say this. These crimes are horrific.
Because of
condemn
your
them, and I
your
would say
sanctuary state policies.
In all of these cases, we would work with ICE to remove
You
them.
did not in this case. They are
They need
walking
our
on the
assistance.
streets because of your policies and your executive order that you signed 3 times. Now, Raymond Rojas Basilio, do you know who that is?
I'm telling you this. I will
You don't
explain
know
you
who
the
it is.
policies of New York. We cooperate with, I know you're just
You do
trying
not.
to.
You do not. Specifically,
Miss-
ICE was told not to detain this individual, and he burned a woman alive on the New York subways in Kathy Hochul's New York. So I will keep on going. What about Raymond Rojas Basilio? Do you know who that is?
I'm going to tell you our overall policy, which will address all this.
I'll tell
We
you
do
who
not-
that is. He is an illegal who molested an 11-year-old in our state because, again, of your sanctuary state policies. This illegal was shielded from federal immigration enforcement and able to commit this heinous crime. And what about Wilson Castillo Diaz? Do you know who that
I'm
is?
telling you this. We do cooperate fully with ICE in criminal prosecution. Our sanctuary
You're not advocating for
regulations
these victims.
only deal with
This is a
civil
5-year-old who
enforcement.
was raped
Civil
on Long
enforcement.
Island in Nassau County. You are not advocating on behalf of these victims. You are shielding illegals. Even in your opening statement,
That is
you
not true.
prioritize putting illegals first.
That is not
Rapes
true.
of young girls, beatings of NYPD cops by illegals who are here under Kathy Hochul's failed policies, burning New Yorkers alive. This is Kathy Hochul's New York. It's one of the many reasons why you're hemorrhaging support from hardworking New York
These are
families.
horrific crimes, and they're
They're
heartbreaking.
horrific crimes that are committed on your watch. You signed this executive order on your first day in office. You signed it again and again this January. We deserve a governor who stands up for law-abiding New Yorkers, doesn't put illegals first, but actually puts New Yorkers first. I appreciate
Rather than
the
going
chairman's-
after the viral moment, I suggest you
No,
look
no, no.
at the facts.
I'm standing up for New Yorkers.
No.
Rather than addressing the illegals in New York, you are prioritizing your far-left sanctuary state policies, which you put in place with executive orders. Instead of advocating for
cooperate
victims,
in all
a
those
5-year-old
cases.
who
We
was raped,
cooperate with ICE.
you did not. They were released
We
because
cooperate
of
with
sanctuary
ICE.
state
We
policies in New
cooperate
York
with
State.
law
No
enforcement.
amount of words is going to clean up your failed record and these horrific crimes committed in sanctuary state that you created. And with that, I
Your
yield back.
representation, the facts, are
Gentlelady
absolutely false.
yields back.
Absolutely.
Chair,
Let's start with Executive Order Number 1. This is the very first thing Kathy Hochul did when she took office. Not fixing the economy, not addressing crime, not helping struggling New York families. Her top priority was ensuring that New York would continue to be a sanctuary for people who shouldn't be in our country in the first place. She's extended this order 3 times, most recently in January of this year. This tells you everything you need to know about her priorities. The policy itself is absolutely insane when you break it down. New York State employees are prohibited from sharing information with federal immigration authorities. Think about that for a second. We have federal agents whose job it is to enforce our immigration laws and keep dangerous criminals off our streets, and New York is actively obstructing them. Local law enforcement is banned from using their resources to help detect people who are here illegally, even when they know these individuals pose a threat to the community. But here's where it gets really infuriating. The congressman brought up specific cases, real victims with names and faces, and Governor Hochul acted like she had never heard of them. These aren't obscure cases buried in some police report. These are high-profile crimes that made headlines across New York, and the governor of the state claims she doesn't know about them. Sakir Akan, remember that name. This illegal immigrant found a 15-year-old girl, threatened her with a metal pole, forced her into the backseat of his car, and violently assaulted her. A 15-year-old American girl became a victim because New York sanctuary policies allowed this predator to remain on the streets instead of being turned over to IC for deportation. Then there's Sebastian Zapita Khalil. This monster found a woman sleeping on the subway and literally set her on fire, burning her alive. Can you imagine the terror that woman experienced in her final moments? Can you imagine being her family and knowing that this could have been prevented if New York had simply cooperated with federal immigration enforcement? ICE had issued a detainer order for this individual, but New York officials refused to honor it because of their sanctuary policies. The congressman also mentioned Raymond Rojas Basilio, who molested an 11-year-old child, and Wilson Castillo Diaz, who committed crimes against a 5-year-old on Long Island. These are not just statistics or policy debates. These are real children whose lives have been forever changed because politicians like Kathy Hochul care more about protecting people who shouldn't be here than protecting the innocent Americans they took an oath to serve. What's particularly disgusting is how Governor Hochul responded to these specific cases. Instead of expressing outrage, instead of showing any concern for these victims, she kept trying to redirect the conversation to talk about her overall policy. She kept claiming that New York cooperates with IC, but the facts show exactly the opposite. When IC issues a detainer request, New York ignores it. When federal agents need information to track down dangerous criminals, New York stonewalls them. This is the perfect example of how the radical left operates. They hide behind feel-good rhetoric about compassion and inclusion while completely ignoring the real-world consequences of their policies. They'll lecture you about being more tolerant and understanding, but they won't talk about the American victims who pay the price for their virtue signaling. The congressman was absolutely right to call out Governor Hochul for prioritizing illegal immigrants over New Yorkers. Look at her record. Look at what she chooses to focus on. Look at where she spends her political capital. It's not on making New York safer for families. It's not on supporting law enforcement. It's on making sure that people who broke federal law to get here are protected from the consequences of their actions. And let's be clear about something else. This isn't just about New York. Sanctuary policies like these exist in cities and states across the country, all run by Democrat politicians who have decided that illegal immigrants deserve more protection than American citizens. They've created a system where criminals know they can commit horrific crimes and still be shielded from federal immigration enforcement. The congressman mentioned that Governor Hochul is hemorrhaging support from hardworking New Yorkers, and it's not hard to see why. When you're more concerned about protecting criminals than protecting children, when you're more worried about the rights of people who shouldn't be here than the safety of people who belong here, you've lost sight of what government is supposed to do. This hearing also exposes the broader failure of our immigration system. We have clear laws on the books. We have federal agencies tasked with enforcing those laws. But when local and state governments actively obstruct federal immigration enforcement, the entire system breaks down. It's like having a fire department that's prohibited from using water. The solution here is straightforward, but it requires political courage that too many Republicans seem to lack. We need federal legislation that makes it illegal for any state or local government to obstruct federal immigration enforcement. We need to cut federal funding to any jurisdiction that declares itself a sanctuary. We need to hold elected officials personally accountable when their policies lead to preventable crimes against American citizens. We also need more Republicans who are willing to confront these politicians the way this congressman did. No more polite exchanges. No more letting them hide behind talking points. Force them to explain why they think protecting illegal immigrants is more important than protecting American children. Make them say the names of the victims. Make them own the consequences of their policies. Every single American should watch this exchange and ask themselves a simple question. Do you want politicians who put Americans first, or do you want politicians who put everyone else first? Do you want leaders who prioritize your safety and your children's safety, or do you want leaders who care more about their progressive credentials than your well-being? The choice couldn't be clearer. We can continue to elect politicians like Kathy Hochul who will sacrifice American lives on the altar of political correctness. Or we can demand leaders who understand that their first responsibility is to the American people who elected them. This is why channels like America First exist. This is why we need to keep pushing back against these failed policies and the politicians who promote them. The mainstream media won't tell you these stories. They won't connect these dots. They won't hold these politicians accountable for the consequences of their actions. But we will. And if you believe in putting Americans first, make sure you're subscribed to this channel and sharing these videos with everyone you know. The only way we're going to change course is if more Americans understand what's at stake and demand better from their elected officials. Thanks for watching America First. Keep fighting for what's right, and we'll see you in the next video.